of the sack. So now we have a question, how do we deal with this? We could deal with it the way we dealt with it in the past. And I know there were much worse crimes and heinous shootings than we experienced here. Thank God it was only some graffiti. Just a few months ago, what happened in Pittsburgh, a few weeks ago, what happened in California. So we could have dealt with it in a way that we're just going to run away and we're going to just keep low and we're going to be good boys and do what we are told to do and not make too much noise. Then I thought about it and I said the way Rabbi Mendy mentioned before, that from every act of evil, we need to double and redouble our acts of kindness. And this is the only way we can continue in life. I will echo the words of Rabbi Goldstein. I'm sure everybody knows that name. Rabbi Goldstein is the rabbi that he lost his finger in California because he was a Jew. That's why he lost his finger. It happens to be, I know him very well. We grew up together in Crown Heights. We experienced a lot of this hate and a lot of the violence, yet we stood strong. We stayed in the community. We stayed there. You go to Crown Heights today, you can't buy a house even if you want to. The neighborhood changed so strong, so dramatically. Why did that happen? Because we as Jews, the handful of Jews who lived there, decided we are staying there. It was by the guidance of the Lubavitcher Rebbe. He told us we're staying here, we're not going anywhere. We're here, we're staying in Staten Island, we're not going anywhere. And not only we're not going anywhere, I spoke to Mark Weiss a few nights ago on the phone. And he says to me, what can we do? This is a global issue. It's not just Staten Island. This is not just New York. It's a global issue. What are we going to do about it? We can't do anything. We're just a few little people over here. So I said to him, and he agreed with me, and I said, you're wrong. If we could get together 20, 30,000 children to come to a stadium, and all we're going to do there is to teach the kids, and the kids will talk about it, that all we want to do is help another person. Doesn't matter who you are and what you look like, male, female, black, white, Spanish, Chinese, it's irrelevant. And we say hello to each other, even if you're Hasidic. And we talk to each other, we say good morning. And that's the lesson we need, what I would like to see coming out from today. What I would like to see coming out from today. And it shouldn't be just, even though it's only graffiti, but it shouldn't just be, oh, it's only graffiti. No, from this graffiti on the walls is going to show us and teach us that we, a handful of Staten Islanders, the forgotten borough, isn't forgotten. We woke up. Sometimes they call it the bedroom community. We're waking up. The bedroom is closing. We're waking up. And we will show the world. We could get together. Look at this room. It's a Tuesday morning. Look at this room. And we are going to do the right thing. And I don't know exactly how to do this, but we got to do it. We got to start making phone calls. We got to send out emails. The message is love and kindness and goodness and kindness. And this is a message that we need to make a rally. I would like to suggest we do it before the school year is over. We can get schools, private schools, public schools, whomever we can get. We get the kids together and we teach. If you don't teach the kids, we're wasting our time. It's nice to teach adults, but sometimes, an old horse to teach new tricks. My wife is trying to get me to lose weight. It's not working so good. But if you would have started it maybe when I was 10 years old, like my kids are doing now with their kids, maybe it would have been different. So I understand it's difficult to teach an old horse new tricks, but we have a lot of young kids. And we got to teach them. There's a God, there's a creator, we're responsible. And if we do this, I could talk about this a lot, but I won't. People have to go to work. And we have to beat the rain because we want to go outside. I would like to thank everybody for coming. Especially, I would like to thank Max. He doesn't like when I call him Mr. Rose or Congressman. I would like to thank Max because he was the first one here. He was here on Thursday. And I would like to thank the DA. We spoke on the phone on Friday, and the Thursday I was very busy. We had a whole program over here outside actually for Lag Bomer. So I was busy on Thursday. I spoke on the phone with the DA on Friday, and we suggested we should have this press conference. And in Hebrew they say, Omer v'oseh. We spoke, and he did. So thank you very much, and God should bless us all.
Thank you so much, Rabbi Moshe Katzman and Rabbi Mendel Katzman from the Chabad of Staten Island, from the Chabad of Staten Island, and also to Rabbi Ettinger in particular from the Yeshiva Zinkran Paltiel from across the street. And also to the Anti-Hate Crimes Task Force, my co-chair Scott Maurer. I thank him for arranging everyone who is here as well, together with our Congressman Max Rose and all the elected officials who we hear from in just a moment. But it is true what the rabbi says is that we are changing the narrative of this story. And it's a terrible story that's been written over centuries, the story of hatred and the story of division. But I'm so glad that the young people are here today in the back room as well, because I want you to know in particular that what you're seeing is that the people of Staten Island, their leaders and those, the community leaders, the religious leaders are taking a stand. We're taking a stand for light because only light can defeat darkness. We're taking a stand for love because only love can defeat hate. We're taking a stand for all people and all religions, that they can enjoy the benefits and protections of American society, our constitutional principles, the freedom of religion, the freedom of association, the freedom of speech, and together we are taking that stand. Keep in mind that 10 days from today, we will celebrate the 75th anniversary of D-Day. That was a day when the Western world, led by America and Great Britain, took a stand against the hatred of anti-Semitism that had washed across Europe, and many lives were lost, and many gave the full measure of devotion. But at the end of the day, light prevailed, love prevailed, justice prevailed. So I want you to know that just as those Americans took a stand, and that day, almost 75 years ago, we on Staten Island are taking a stand against hate and for love. And so we'll say a few words before we go out together collectively as a community, led by our rabbis here in this beautiful part of Staten Island, this beautiful bedroom community, as the rabbi said, I guess no longer a bedroom community, to go out and paint over those signs of hate and clean them up. And I want to thank Dennis McKeon from Where to Turn, who gave us the supplies, and he'll be out there leading the charge. Just a last thought, why is it important that we take a stand? Elie Wiesel gave us the words to find that. There may be times when we are powerless to prevent injustice and hate, but there must never be a time when we fail to protest. We must always take sides. Neutrality helps the oppressor, never the victim. Silence encourages the tormentor, never the tormented. I swore, and this is Wiesel speaking, I swore never to be silent whenever and wherever human beings endure suffering and humiliation. We must always take sides in his spirit, in the spirit of those who have been tormented through the centuries, through anti-Semitism or other signs of hate. We are taking a stand. We are taking a side. I've never been prouder to be a Staten Islander than I am standing in this room right now, taking that stand and that side. Thank you all for coming out today. And now, as the rabbi said, so quick to action, so quick to take a stand and a side, our great Congressman Max Rose.
Thank you, DA. You know, all too often when we talk about hate in the media, all we see is these horrific images, this fear of further division. And it's hard not to lose faith in our better angels, faith that we can be better as a community. But we can't lose that faith, especially today. You know, this is a borough of compassion. When the government shut down 4 or 5 months ago, everyone behind me, Democrat, Republican, everyone came together. Religions came together. different cultures came together, and we served people in need. That's what we continue to do here on Staten Island. The generosity of our neighbors is unparalleled and truly unbelievable. We saw that with Sandy as well. That's what Staten Island is. Not the vandalism outside, not the hate outside. We're one borough and we're one family. We're defined by the rabbis, the imams, the pastors, the civic leaders. The acts of love and compassion, both small and large, many of which are never reported on each and every day. So it's important that we condemn anti-Semitism today. I say that as a Jew. I say that as your congressman. But I also ask, as Rabbi Katzman alluded to, that we carry on with the full knowledge that we as a people are so much better than this. We continue to lift each other up, and we refuse to give in and let whoever committed that act of hate outside, we refuse to let them win, because we will always speak to our better angels. We will always seek to come together, and we will always seek to make sure that this country fulfills its values. Thank you all for being here today, and let's never let this happen again.
Thank you, Max. Our terrific borough president, James Otto.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. It's good to see you, but it's really tragic to see you under these circumstances. Many of us up here spend a lot of time in our schools across Staten Island. And if you walk into a classroom anywhere on Staten Island and look at the faces, you see what was once referred to as the gorgeous mosaic. If you talk to our teachers and our principals, they will tell you an astounding number of languages that are spoken in our schools. If you walk down from Borough Hall and you go into the Staten Island Ferry Terminal and you watch the 5:30 p.m. boat come in, and you look at the faces of those Staten Islanders coming back from work, you once again see the gorgeous mosaic. Every day in this community, Staten Islanders at worst tolerate each other, at best thrive together with each other. These acts do not define who we are. These acts do not define this community, do not define Staten Island. And by us getting here today, we remind Staten Island of that and remind the world of that. You might be home tonight watching this on TV, or you might read this in the Staten Island Advance tomorrow and say, I'm not Jewish, this doesn't impact me. Or I'm not anti-Semitic, or I'm not hateful, this doesn't impact me, I have no role. You most certainly do. In our own little world, in our own little universes, if you see amongst your friends and family signs of hate, push back against it. You could be gentle, you could be rough, however you think it could be effective. Push back against it. Moreover, you might be at home saying, I'm not Jewish, I'm not impacted by this, I'm not hateful, I'm not anti-Semitic, I have no role in this. You most certainly do. Treat the people around you, friend, family, stranger, with just a little bit more kindness. That's how we beat this back. That's how we win the day ultimately. Thank you for everything that you do. Thank you for all the things that you do. Together we will beat this back. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. And I want everybody to know how seriously the NYPD and our office take the issue of hate crimes. The leadership of my office is here. Paul Capifari, the Chief Assistant, Tim Kohler, the exec, and Mark Palladino's here, who is the Bureau Chief who heads up the hate crimes unit as well. They prosecute these cases to the max, and their partners in the NYPD take these cases as seriously as any, and that's why we're so honored and lucky to have a wonderful borough commander in Chief Ken Corey. Ken?
Thank you, and as part of the NYPD team here today, we have Deputy Inspector Mark Molinari from the Hate Crimes Task Force and Captain Bruce Separano, Commanding Officer of the 121 Precinct. We've said before, there is no room for hate in New York City, and there is no tolerance for it here in Staten Island. Someone out there knows who perpetrated this crime. Tell us. Help us keep you safe. Call us 800-577-TIPS. Your calls can be kept confidential. but help us make Staten Island a better place for all of us. Thank you.
Our marvelous assemblyman from this district, who's also the dean of the Staten Island delegation to Albany, Assemblyman Mike Cusick.
You know, I've represented Staten Island for a long time, and there are many proud moments that I've had in these years representing the great people of Staten Island. And today, this morning, standing in the back, watching my colleagues, having the view of the audience, seeing this room, this is one of the proudest days I have as an elected representative for Staten Island. Because as many of the speakers have said already, Staten Island is a unique place in that we always come together. This act of hatred was an act that attacked all of us on Staten Island. We all have been attacked when there is an act of anti-Semitism, an act of bigotry towards any of our neighbors, our friends, or our family here on Staten Island. And to see this community come together, not only to console and to work towards a result in this one action, but to be together and know that we're all in this together. Out of hatred comes love and unity. Today is a perfect example of that. But it's our responsibility, not only the elected officials and the community leaders who are here, the rabbis, the clergy, the imams, the police. It's our duty, not only today to be unified, but to continue forward, to continue this message that we are not just here to cover up an act today. We are here together to make sure that our borough, our community is unified as one. To let people who are going to do this in the future know that it's not one community, not one group you're attacking all of us. We are in this together. And that is the message that we are sending today. And that's why I am so proud as a Staten Islander that we are here today in doing this. And I want to thank Rabbi Katzman, I want to thank Rabbi Lairfield, Imam Tahir, all the clergy that are here. Rabbi, thank you also. I see so many folks here that are here to support. But let's continue this forward. This act of hatred will not, and the message we are sending will not be tolerated here on Staten Island. Thank you for joining us today.
This district's outstanding city councilman and the minority leader of the city council, Stephen Matteo.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, everyone, for being here. And thank you to all the rabbis and imams and NYPD and my colleagues. But most of all, thank you for all of you being here. We have taken such a upsetting and disappointing event and turned it into a positive, because that's what we do here on Staten Island. We come together. We push back against hate. We will always push back against hate. Staten Islanders and Staten Island will not accept anti-Semitic messages or messages of hate. And as the rabbi talked about before about the message to our young people, on Friday I was driving my son to Wagner, and my 8-year-old was also in the car, and we were discussing the graffiti, the anti-Semitic message, the message of hate. And my 8-year-old said, "So Dad, so what do we do?" And I said to him, "Stephen, I think it's important that when you hear someone speak, that you actually listen to what they're saying. You don't just talk to them. You listen to their heart, and you bring kindness to the conversation, because we all have to lead with our hearts. We have to be good people, because if we don't, we let this message of hate dictate our community, and we will never do that as Staten Islanders. We have to show respect. we have to show love. We have to start with our young children. And it's important for us, not just as elected officials, but as parents, as Staten Islanders, just as human beings, to make sure that that message of love gets to our children in our schools, so that when they are talking to each other, they are respecting each other. Sometimes we can learn from our children, but it's really important that we lead our children to the right message of love, that Staten Islanders will not accept this, that we are one on Staten Island. It doesn't matter your race or creed. We are one in this borough. It's about love. It's about respect. We will push back against hate. I want to thank the NYPD for everything they do, my colleagues for always stepping up, and more importantly for this community, because you bring the best out of Staten Island. And we will continue to do this. We will continue to push back against hate, and we will continue to spread a message of hope and love and respect, and always, always push back against hate. Thank you.
Three more electeds whose presence shows that we are a unified island as we take a stand against hate. Our Assemblywoman Nicole Maliotakis.
Well, I didn't expect to speak today, but I just want to echo the sentiment that's been expressed here today. This was not an offense just on the thought of Staten Island. It was not just an offense on the Jewish community of Staten Island. It was an offense on all of us. And that's why it's so important that we come together, regardless of our ethnicity, regardless of our religion, regardless of our political affiliation, because we are one Staten Island, and we need to stand strong against this. You know, I remember a day when my mother came home once, and she was crying. I said, "Why are you crying?" She says, "I was at a garage sale, and someone told me, go back to your country." Many of you know I'm the daughter of immigrants. My mother's Cuban. She speaks with a very heavy accent. I'll never forget the pain that I saw in my mother that day. And I feel the pain those of you in the bottom of Staten Island are experiencing today. And so we must always come together as one community to denounce hatred, to denounce acts of terror, to denounce anti-Semitism, to denounce any form of racism. So I thank you, District Attorney, for leading this investigation. I thank our NYPD who are working so diligently to catch the perpetrator, and I have confidence that they will. And I want to thank all my colleagues and everyone who has come out today, this beautiful mosaic of Staten Island, to show what Staten Island is truly about.
Thank you. Our councilman from the South Shore of Staten Island, the terrific Joe Borelli.
Good morning, everybody. So, many of you might have heard that our Jewish brothers and sisters across the pond over in Germany are facing similar hate crimes as we are. And the response from some of their ministers was to suggest that perhaps they shouldn't wear their kippah. The reason why we're all here behind me is to tell you the exact opposite. Wear your kippah, wear your turban, wear your prayer beads, wear your crucifix. Be defiant in the face of hate. Don't ever concede to those that try to oppress you anywhere in the world. One of the greatest moments of my life and joys of my life was visiting Israel. Even as a Christian, it was very meaningful. But the most powerful spot for me in all of Israel is a museum that many of you are familiar with called Yad Vashem. And at the end of the museum, it's the most powerful moment in many lives, especially perhaps in mine. You're at a balcony, and you had just gone through the museum. You've seen all of the horrors of the Holocaust. You've seen all the images, all the materials, all the artifacts that remind us of the suffering of the Jewish people. And then you get to this balcony, and it's overlooking a beautiful valley. And there's trees and plants and schools and hospitals and roads and a railway that's not quite built, but it's almost getting built. And it's an act of defiance in itself. It's representative of the triumph of the Jewish people in spite of what others have done to it. In essence, the people in the valley below are sort of shaking their fist up at everything that's represented by the museum where you just went through. And today, when we paint or we power wash, well, Dennis is going to do it. I don't know how to use the machines. But today, when we paint or whatever, we power wash the hate off this wall, we will also be shaking our fist at those that do this and saying that we will still wear our kippahs, we'll still build our synagogues, we'll still build our mosques, we'll still build our churches here in Staten Island and here in the United States of America.
He's the youngest in terms of time in office, our Assemblyman from the South Shore, Michael Riley. Wonderful, Michael.
Thank you, Dean McMahon, my colleagues, all the words that they reiterated. I want to just, say that I love hearing it from all of them, that we all should be together. This is a sign of character. We're showing our character here today. And you know what? We're going to lead that message moving out today about our lives. But the true ideal of character is doing the right thing when no one's looking. So we're doing the right thing here. Let us all remember to go about our day today and our days forward and show our true character by saying hello to someone, by shaking a hand, holding a door. That's how we're going to pay it forward. And let's remember that. And let's pass that on to our kids. Let's pass that on to our neighbors, to our friends, and even those who we may not see eye to eye with. When we make an impact by just showing that act of kindness, we will get past this. And we will make sure that we stand in solidarity each day. Thank you.
Our other elected officials who have representatives here, Senator Savina has Victoria Mecca, the Mayor's Office, Patrick Lewis, Controller Scott Stringer, represented by Donald DeRosa, and Assemblyman Charles Fall by Ed Jackson. We thank them for coming. He's the co-chair of the Staten Island Anti-Hate Task Force, Hate Crime Task Force, and he's also the chairman of COJO, Mr. Scott Moore.
Good morning, good morning. Very difficult, I'll put in this phrase, as a baseball player, I'm following Lou Gehrig and Babe Ruth and all these other wonderful speakers. I don't know what to say. However, I want to thank the district attorney for putting the Staten Island Hate Crime Task Force together. It is with pride that I represent and do a small amount of work in order to help spread, not just to fight hate, but to spread love and to educate people around us that hate just doesn't stand. It's not right. I say this all the time at every event that I attend, every event I speak at. We are blessed on Staten Island in having the greatest police department on the planet, standing right over here. We literally have the best elected officials in the entire country, because this only happens in Staten Island when we can have all these people together and we all speak in the same thing. So you all do applause as well. Words hurt. Words hurt a lot, and we're taught that when a bad word, a spoken word of evil is let out, there are 3 people that are hurt by this. This is what we study in the Jewish religion. And the 3 people that are hurt is obviously the person speaking the word, you're hurting his soul. The person that hears the word, you're hurting his soul. And the person that you're speaking bad about, you're certainly hurting their soul. Sticks and stones may break your bones, but names can never harm you. Words harm. So it is with this that I want to leave you all with words. Oseh shalom b'ramav hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'emor amen. May the Maker, may the King of the world grant upon each and every one of us peace, and peace on the state of Israel and the people of Israel. Opinions, thank you. Opinions, I'm almost finished. Opinions. Once you give me a mic, I won't let it go. Thank you. Opinions are different. How do we pray? We pray in the morning, we pray in the afternoon. We are Catholic, we are Muslim, we are Christian, we are Jewish, we are Buddhist. Everyone has an opinion of the greatest way to serve their God. It's really the same God, it's just a different path to get there. So everyone has difference of opinions. We have Republicans and Democrats and independents and conservatives, Met fans and Yankee fans. Everyone has a battle. My daddy is bigger than your daddy. My daddy's better than your daddy. But I know that there's only one opinion, that every clergy in the country, that every person in the country should share, and the opinion is that hate is not right. So let's take that opinion and spread it out to everyone that could hear us. Thank you very much.
Just a few more acknowledgments, and it is truly a Staten Island story that when these acts of hate show their ugly heads, how we are pulled together, and that's a leadership that has existed for some years, and that's that interfaith group. And I just want to thank everyone here from them. It's David Sorkin from the JCC, of course, Mendy Moroshnik from Kojo, of course from the 121, Captain Bruce Separano, Rabbi Ettinger, who I'm going to be here for a minute, but I also see Imam Tahir, Rabbi Learfeld, Rabbi Sussman, Reverend Troya, Lori Weintraub from Wagner College, Sean Malakovsky from the Independence Party. I'm missing a few, I'm sorry, but Rabbi Howell is in the back there. Hello, Rabbi Michael. Thank you all for your continued leadership and what you're doing. We thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Now, before we go out and wipe away the stain of that terrible crime, I'd like to ask maybe Rabbi Ettinger just to give us a closing word, a closing prayer before we go forth. Oh, and I forgot. Rabbi Katzman thinks I might be done with the mic. I'm never done, Rabbi. Before I turn it over to Rabbi Ettinger to close for us, I mentioned them in my remarks, but I want to say it again. The young men and women are here from the JFS, and I want to thank them from that, the JFS school. From the JFS school, you're the future. Our future is bright, and it's thanks to you and your teachers and your administrators. So thank you for coming. And now, Rabbi Ettinger, if you want to give us a closing word, and then we'll go out into the back. Dennis will lead us in the Operation Cleanup.
Okay. Thank you again. I wasn't expecting to speak. Truthfully, I have not been at one of these events. I'd like to thank, first of all the elected officials and the police department and the Rabbonim and the entire community and all of you that are here. I've been extremely inspired by these unfortunate events. Immediately after it took place, we got a phone call from the DA's office offering anything and everything that they can do, that they have at their disposal to make sure that we as a school, as a yeshiva, as a community feel completely and totally safe as we should feel, as we should be. As Rabbi Katzman mentioned, as soon as this happened, he came over to me. He said, listen, I want to keep a very low profile. I don't want to do anything about it. What is your feelings? And I told him the same thing. You know, I'm not involved with this. I also keep a very low profile. But seeing the outpouring of support, seeing the hearing from the elected officials of these messages of unity, of faith, of getting together no matter what your religion, your background, has really been very uplifting to myself, has been very inspiring to me. I wish some of my students would be here. We have finals going on, but really this really is an incredible turnout, and it's an incredible event. And again, we sincerely hope that the message of unity, the message of what we call in Hebrew, achdus, of getting together no matter what your background, no matter what your religion, we want to live in peace, we want to be peaceful together, we want to encourage kindness, as our cancer mentioned, and we should only live and be well together. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? And so, again, I want to thank our hosts, and I want to say again to the Rabbis Katzman and to Rabbi Ettinger, Rabbi Learfield, you've given us a great example today of how to deal with adversity with head high, courage, kindness, thoughtfulness. We'll stand by you forever. God bless you all. Thank you, Congressman Rose. And now let's go now it's time to work.
Thank you, sir. Pleasure. Thank you. Mikey, just grab the, Mikey. Sorry, guys. Which way we go?
Yeah, that's what it's 8:45. I'm like,
Oh,
yes,
you're
there's
kidding.
Staten Island's like an hour away. Like, just get what you can get. That's why I'm like, this
Oh,
one's gonna
yeah. Don't you love that?
be, yeah,
Go
just
get
get
what you can get.
Okay, you know what? Carl, we gotta move. Carl, I can't do this. Thank you. Yeah, so no one sucks. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, Judge. But then we won't see the whole name.
No, that
Yeah,
night.
no.
Thursday night, Judge.
You know, we kind of want to see the whole thing, right? Yeah. This might be. Other politicians don't stand in front of us.
We need congressmen and we want to thank Councilman Matteo, who paid for the Queen Fee. So, what would you like to suggest is, we should go take
Just take a little and I'll finish it
you
up.
guys ever do this before?
Marvin, you need these?
Let's do a
What? No, not right now, Jizz. We're good. You step back. You're good.
Where's the other guys? Yeah, you're nice and even now. Thank you. Come on, Mike. You have one more for the rabbi? Yes, take some more. Hold on. You guys take the rabbi. Take the rabbi. Mike, come on, Rabbi. Yep. All right, we're going to do one more time. Ready? Everybody ready? That's right. That was a good one. The last one was a good one.
Don't worry about it. I'm gonna finish it up.
We'll do the rest of the building. The rest? Looks like Mike did it at home once in a while. Yeah. He knows what he's doing.
Dennis is gonna touch it up.
Good job, guys, good job.
Dennis, you gotta clean up this mess. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, everybody. God bless you all. Thank you.
Adam, much problem. Adam, you didn't have much problem.
Shot of the painted wall.
Adam, you had